The new Atlas warehouse on Edmondson Avenue had just gone into operation in 1925 when Cap Rukert heard the news that he called music to his ears. The French were resuming their shipments of potash fertilizer from their mines in Alsace to the U.S. that had been interrupted by World War I. Cap knew that the Block Street warehouse in Fells Point had been used to store potash before the war. He saw an opportunity to grow his 4-year-old business and boldly leased that warehouse for 10 years. He then traveled to New York and convinced the French shippers that he had the perfect waterfront warehouse and Atlas was the right business to take care of their needs. While the ship was already crossing the Atlantic, they made a deal and redirected the ship to Cap's newly leased Fells Point warehouse. This was the first of many shipments of potash that would come that way. This deal would forever change the trajectory of the fledgling Rukert family business. 2 years later, in 1927, Cap would add potash shipped from the port of Hamburg, Germany, to their client list. Ships like the German steamship Osiris would call on Atlas on a regular basis. Bulk fertilizer would become a large part of the business model. This continued growth required even more wharf and warehouse space, which Cap would find at the nearby Miller's Wharf, which was owned and operated by McCormick and Company. The asking price was $135,000 for the two 50-year-old wharves and warehouses, but Cap and George only had $3,000 available. Willoughby McCormick, founder of the tea and spice importers, accepted their down payment. This allowed the industrious brothers to make payments from their profits as they could afford it. They changed the name to Jackson's Wharf. Soon after, they entered into an agreement with the Morgan Line of the Southern Pacific Steamship Company to handle their stevedoring and warehouse operations in Baltimore. This was a significant relationship for the young business, and they created a new division, the Atlas Pier and Terminal Company. All of this new business required more help, and Cap hired his daughter Dorothy as the first second-generation Rukert to join the business. Cap also hired Mabel Nichols to be his assistant. Women were now involved in growing the business. By 1930, it was obvious the Fells Point waterfront and Edmondson Avenue warehouse operations were not compatible. They dissolved the original partnership, and brother George continued to operate Atlas Safe Deposit and Storage, while Cap created the Rukert Terminals Corporation. Fells Point had been Baltimore's deep water port and center for shipbuilding since the early 1700s. The famous Baltimore Clippers, like the reproduction Pride of Baltimore II, were created and built there. Frederick Douglass worked in those Fells Point shipyards. Isaac Myers would build and repair ships in the 1800s in the same neighborhood where Cap would renovate and expand Jackson's Wharf. The location would remain in service until 1978. Now only an aged, deserted wharf remains as a reminder of the business conducted at Jackson's Wharf. To advertise the growing business, Cap would publish his first promotional brochure entitled 8 Major Services Coordinated. These essential services listed were stevedoring, cargo superintendents, weighing and sampling, customs house brokerage, forwarding, warehousing, pool car distribution, and financing. These 8 major activities are touted as providing the client complete service from A to Z, that the shipper or importer will find everything they need at Rukert Terminals. They are the logical, complete answer, the coordinated, modern answer to the client's problems. Cap stated that the name Rukert now represents a wealth of experience, and the spirit of banking and merchandise can hardly be surpassed on the same scale anywhere. He had come a long way from one moving truck and a stable.